Yo, what is up, non-believers, truth seekers, Matrix viewers, but only really the first one. Here's a random intro because the Cartheist that's driven onto the skeptic this week has some very strange things to say about not debating atheists because they just brush off his evidence. So it's pointless. Well, I'll tell you what, Peyton Shane, let's see what evidence you have, shall we? Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, and I explain why I don't accept what they're saying. Peyton Shane is an ex-Mormon turned slightly different flavour of religion that still believes in supernatural Jesus, and he's here to say why he won't debate atheists. I guess there's a lot of call for that, mister. As you'll witness, it sounds as though most folks that comment on his videos are atheists, and he just flat out ignores them, because when he drops evidence, they brush it off. Annoying. I guess we should hear what that evidence is then. However, before we find out why it's stupid to ignore such obvious evidence, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell, and maybe we can convince the YouTube algorithm to find more content like this for you. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. New Pitbull, Joji Doobie, Fred Harvey, and New Pitbull again. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. Oh, and did I mention this guy's a Cartheist? Well, just in case I didn't, now I did.
Yo, what is up, true believers, truth seekers, as well as Matrix agents, organic portals, and grass phobics? Welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. Today I'm going to talk about why I don't debate with atheists. Alright, this is part 3 of this trilogy of atheists invading my YouTube channel.
Well, that kind of goes with the territory. If you say that the things you believe are true and post it on the public interwebs, you're going to get people saying, that's a bit silly. I get it all the time.
Like 99% of my viewer base right now is just atheists that are hate watching me. So, this video's for you guys. Stay tuned, buckle up your seatbelts. I'm about to spread some truth, dude.
Take your own advice, buddy. At least buckle up if you're in the car. I mean, I guess at least he's not driving like some Cartheists. In those instances, just let Jesus take the wheel. Am I right? Am I right?
But yeah, today I'm going to talk about why I'm not going to bother debating with atheists. Especially in a comment section. And, I can already hear the keyboard warriors typing, oh, it's because you lose the debate. But I'm going to explain why I think it's genuinely just a waste of my energy and time. Anything I'd say, any evidence or demonstration.
Hang on, why did you put that in air quotes? Don't you believe it yourself? And comments isn't really a debate, it's just a conversation.
That I could do to, prove God's existence to these people. They'd brush it off, dude.
If you could prove a God exists in a YouTube comment, I'm sure many would have done that by now, Peyton.
They'd brush it off and be like, well, it's not convincing enough. I'm not convinced. Or say I'm a liar or something, or say I'm a schizophrenic, especially if I go into, my personal experiences. Because, dude, like I said in the last video, I didn't just open up the Bible one day and start believing for no reason. It's because I had personal experiences that were validated through scripture.
That just so happened to be the Bible. But hey, if you had personal experiences and lived in Turkey, the scripture you would have picked up and used to confirm your experiences would more likely have been the Quran. Does that then prove that the Allah God exists? What about being in India? Do the texts there confirm Vishnu? Do the texts in the middle of the Sahara Desert confirm Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leave me upon her?
And the personal experiences I have are the best evidence that I could give for God's existence.
And why should that be convincing to anyone? The personal experiences I have point away from a God, so now you should accept that from me.
Because apparently, none of the stuff that you'd find from actually doing research or even just going outside and touching grass, it's not convincing enough, dude.
Wait, are you saying your personal experiences that you confirm with scripture is more convincing than actual research? Which I guess also brings up null points, or else, it will be undisputed that there is a cloud fairy. And do what with the grass now? At least the look at the trees argument is a little more breathtaking than look at the grass.
So I could go into my personal experiences, say how God freed me of all my addictions like corn, weed, alcohol, depression, suicidal tendencies, loneliness, lack of purpose, all these things, dude. God cured when I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
Hang on. Corn? Is there such a thing as a corn addiction? Hey, skeptic, would you like some popcorn? Oh no, I'm trying to quit. And Peyton, great that you managed to give up things you didn't want to do anymore. But thanking a god? How do you know it was the god and not just you?
Within the span of less than 6 months. I mentioned that in the last video as evidence or proof. But guess what? Everyone ignored that.
Because it's hardly compelling. There's nothing to demonstrate that it actually was any of the gods. You've just said, I accept Jeebus, so it must have been a god. Why would that ever be convincing?
Everyone just brushed past that, pretended I didn't say that. It's because you can't refute that unless you call me a liar.
Or that you are just convinced of something without sufficient evidence to back it up. What many people call faith.
Okay, but if my personal experiences aren't enough, that's why I say, go out and do your own research. Look for the evidence yourself, okay? These people are adults.
So, wait. Is it personal experiences or researched evidence that proves sky wizards? Because you're jumping all over the place.
They don't need me to hold their hand and walk them through.
But you apparently need an invisible friend to hold your hand and walk you through corn addiction.
All the evidence and all the proof of God's existence, dude. No one held my hand. When I did my own research, no one indoctrinated me.
But you were indoctrinated. So, you what, did it yourself?
You know, nobody, no pastor, no prophet or pope or bishop or church leader, dude. No one walked me through any of this. I wasn't indoctrinated. I did my own research and came to my own conclusions.
Well, if your personal experiences aren't enough, share your research. I just don't want to hold your hand. That's probably because you have nothing. You've already said you just accepted a person was a supernatural being. That's on you for accepting something that hasn't ever been demonstrated.
It was just me and God, dude. Okay, Christianity has the most evidence to back it up. Some more proof of that is how everyone in these comment sections gets so triggered. They just flip out in the comment section. It's because they have demons, dude.
Christianity's true because people flip out and have demons? Yeah, I don't think that would hold in court, bud. Maybe people get triggered because they've had bad experiences. Fortunately, I never really believed in any cloud men, so I'm not going to get triggered. I'm just going to say that the reasons you do believe are a little crappy.
They can't just cut their losses and, just go watch their atheist YouTubers.
Some of them do. Like, right now. This is an atheist YouTube video. What?
My videos aren't made for atheists, dude. I don't know why these atheists are so, insistent on watching all of my videos and just commenting the same atheism copy pasta, dude. Same rinse and repeat arguments that I've heard a billion times.
Probably because some real jerks like to point out the silly things that people believe in an effort to make a bigger divide in religion and government. Since, well, especially in the good old USA, religion still has way too much sway in everyday life.
Like I said, dude, it wouldn't even matter what evidence I bring to the table. Because they're covering their ears, dude. They don't care. They don't want the evidence. They don't want the proof.
How wrong could you be? I want the evidence. I want the proof. The thing is, none that has been presented so far has been convincing. And I always say why.
Can't use the Bible as proof. Because it was written by men. Even though they'll gladly reference a website or a research paper or article that was also written by men.
But those things don't claim to be inspired by a magic cloud man. How could you even demonstrate it was inspired by a god? How do you know it wasn't just men thinking it was inspired word? You are terrible at this.
To, prove the non-existence of God. The hypocrisy there is kind of ironic, dude. If I can't use the Bible or my personal experiences or the actual historical evidence...
Historical evidence of a god? What are you on about? You mean historical evidence there might well have been a man called Jeebus. So what? Nothing demonstrates that the Jeebus bloke had magical powers.
To prove that God is real and the Bible is true, and you guys can't use your research papers or your top 10 reasons God isn't real articles online.
Okay, well, here's an idea then. Prove the God, and then the atheists won't have to use that stuff.
Or Charles Darwin. Okay, you guys can't use that. Prove and demonstrate to me that God doesn't exist.
Hang on, what Darwin has to say is irrelevant to a God's existence. You do know how burdens of proof work, right? I'm saying I don't believe you when you say there's a God. Prove the God, or at least try, and then we can have a conversation. Though the fact that no gods have ever met the burden of proof of their existence, it's very easy to move the needle to it doesn't exist. Sorry, Peyton.
Okay, if I can't use my sources of information that were written by men, then neither can you, dude. Neither can you. That's only fair.
So you agree that the Bible was written by men and isn't a valid source for proving a God, when it also makes the claim of the thing? Great. Then we're off to a good start.
I'm waiting, dude. Go ahead and prove to me that God isn't real without using anything that was written by men.
Huh? Okay, I don't accept your claim of a God since you've done nothing to demonstrate the God. So I'm well within my rights to say your God doesn't exist until you can demonstrate the opposite. If that irks you, that's a you problem. Okay, thanks, bye.
Okay, the reason I go to the Bible for my information and why I cross-reference everything I learned from society with whether it's compatible with the Bible is because the Bible was written by men, but through God's Spirit.
How do you know that? Because the book says so. That's not how you prove things. I'm the only circle worth any salt around here. Circular reasoning needs to GTFO.
Okay, if you have a basic understanding of like how the supernatural works, then you'd already know where I'm coming from. But these people are completely secular minded. They just wouldn't get it, dude. They ask for evidence, but you can't use the Bible as evidence because it was written by men. Can't use personal experience as evidence because then you're schizophrenic.
Who's saying you're schizophrenic? I just think you're convinced of something you can't demonstrate.
Can't use Jesus Christ as evidence because despite the witness accounts...
Witness accounts? You mean something written down that said tons of people saw it? That's not witness accounts. That's possibly some guy writing decades after Jeebus was put to death that people saw Jeebus. That doesn't prove anything. That's just a guy saying words.
And thousands of years worth of fulfilled prophecies. The fact that he had the miracles, that he rose from the dead.
These arguments again. What fulfilled prophecies? What about all the prophecies that haven't been fulfilled? And where outside the Bible, again, the thing that makes the claim, is it documented and demonstrable that Jesus rose from the dead?
Mass hysteria, dude. Apparently that's not good enough evidence. Meanwhile, these people base their worldview on a top 10 reasons God isn't real article online. Or rinse and repeat atheism copy pasta.
I do what now with my worldview? Well, thanks for speaking for me, but it might be better to just ask rather than assume.
These people hone in on like these super small like details that are actually very easily explainable. And then say that that proves that the Bible isn't true. Because they have zero grasp of, like, viewing the world from the big picture.
You think you view the world from a better point? So you think that you have reasons why all the other gods are impossible and yours is correct? I'm sorry, but not viewing the world through an overly outdated book suits me just fine.
These people have faith that the so-called evidence that disproves God's existence that they got from the internet is objective and without the pre-existing assumption that God isn't real.
Faith is not what you think it is if you think it takes faith to dismiss claims of a God. And what now? So you're just confirming you have the presupposition of a God's existence. Of course you start at no X, and then if you claim an X, you demonstrate the X.
You refuse to realize that evidence on its own can be interpreted in an infinite number of ways.
Exactly. And it looks as though you got to a God and ground to a halt. It still doesn't prove the God, though.
You could use the same exact evidence to prove we live in a computer simulation or something. If that is the lens from which you view that evidence, if that is the assumption you go into when you look at that evidence, you will find a way to prove that we live in a computer simulation, dude, with the same exact evidence.
And if people are claiming that ridiculousness, they'd still be asked to demonstrate it. Why is this so difficult for you, Peyton? Wah, no one believes me, wah. I'm going to attack their standards of evidence instead of justifying my position, wah.
Evidence on its own doesn't prove anything, dude. You always start off with an assumption, with a hypothesis, and the evidence is what backs it up. Okay, in this case, You have with God or without God. Those are the two lenses from which we view the evidence. Alright?
No, that's not how it works.
The evidence on its own doesn't prove either of those things. Unless you take account observable evidence, because we can't look into the past unless we have written first-hand accounts that were observed by people of that time period.
But we don't have any of those things. We have stories written well after the events supposedly happen. Who on earth would consider that? Who on earth would consider that as evidence?
AKA the Bible, dude. You can't observe the Big Bang. You can't observe evolution. At least not on the scale of, like, evolving from monkeys or slime, dude.
Though, you can see evolution. You can literally see it happening. You can see traits and mutations every single day. My baby floating half British, half Kentuckian circle has traits that I passed on and his mum passed on. That's evolution happening, moron. And we didn't evolve from monkeys or slime, dude.
Maybe microevolution. I'm not going to say that's not a thing, but on the scale of we evolved from monkeys, dude, there is, like, actually zero proof that objectively proves evolution as a fact. It's a theory.
Incorrect. There is. But perhaps because it goes against what you believe, you have to just dismiss it. The fact we need an annual flu vaccine is just one tiny little example of observable evolution, as well as a vast fossil record to look back on and see how species were related.
A theory that is based on, like, almost no evidence at all, dude. And it's because people wanted to find a way to explain our origins because they don't want to accept the fact that God is real.
Well, no. Evolution isn't anything to do with the life origin story. That's a biogenesis. But also, there are plenty of folks who believe in a God, but that also accept evolution as true. So keep trying.
They want to explain our origins by taking God out of the equation. And it's because deep down they don't want God to be real. Because they don't want to give up their sins. They just want to do whatever they want.
The only people that sin are believers. And they only think that it's a sin because an imaginary sky bloke said so. I don't know what terrible things you think I do as a non-believer, Peyton, but I'm probably very boring compared to what you actually think.
You know, live in fornication, lust, adultery, lie, steal. Sexual immorality is like the number one reason why people just don't want to give up their sins. Because sin is sin, dude.
Hang on! Are you telling me no Christian ever did any of those things? Piss off, Peyton, you're full of shit.
All of it's equal. If you're going to be a Christian, you have to strive to give up all your sin. You don't just, follow a few of the commandments and you're like, well, I guess that's good enough.
Yeah, right. You have to give up corn, too.
Because, dude, that would make you lukewarm. But yeah, these people don't want God to be real to the point where they're willing to lash out and demean Christians for their beliefs to make themselves feel better.
I feel so persecuted now, you guys.
They know how wrong they are deep down, dude. So they have to rally with other Matrix agents to, like, try and take down one Christian, dude. They have to call in for backup, dude, to try and take down Christians because they're weak on their own, dude. They know that their entire argument completely falls apart once you actually start picking at their own worldview. So that's why most of them just claim they don't have a worldview. Which, dude, if you don't have a worldview, why are you trying to argue with other people on their worldview?
Do you want some help with your straw man? I think this one's getting harder to hold by the second. I'm not attacking a worldview. I'm saying you have silly reasons for accepting that something that hasn't been demonstrated exists.
Atheists put on the mask of, like, oh, we accept everyone for who they are, and we just love everyone. Unless you follow Jesus, in that case, boo, you stupid, stupid, stinky. They don't believe in anything.
Dude, what the was that? I've never called anyone stinky for accepting that Jeebus was the son of a god. Are you 12?
But calling them passionate would be an understatement, dude. They're so, like, zealous in believing that when you die, you just become food for worms, to the point where you could just call these people, like, atheist missionaries. Keyboard warrior atheist missionaries, dude.
What are you scared of, dude? Just because you're annoyed that folks don't believe ridiculous claims.
Okay, why do you even care about what I believe in if none of it matters anyway? If we're all gonna die and just become food for the worms, if the whole entire planet is just gonna be engulfed by the sun one day, Why does any of it matter to you, dude?
Because of the negative impact religious belief has on society, in government, education and healthcare. Pointing out the silly normalises non-belief and works towards a safer place for folks that don't accept absurd claims. That's why.
It's really because seeing someone else live a lifestyle of purity, of self-denial, denial of self-gratification, and not giving into your primal urges,
and quitting corn,
makes them feel incredibly insecure. Which, dude, none of that, for me at least, would even have been possible without Jesus.
Prove it was Jesus, though. Jesus died. Jesus hasn't come back. So you got through it with a belief in a bloke that died. What does that even have to do with anything? It's dumb.
Which makes them even more triggered, dude. On the other hand, you have some genuine people that are atheists because they've been hurt by religion, by hypocritical Christians and religious narcissists. Okay, and those are the Christians, the hypocrites, those are the Christians specifically in the Bible where it says God will say, "Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness, for I never knew you."
What about those of us that are atheists because they simply aren't convinced of any God claims?
And on the topic of narcissism, I can agree maybe I came off as arrogant in my videos, or maybe I could have used some more humility, at least when it comes to stuff that is outside of whether God and Jesus Christ, is the truth. Because the Bible calls us to be bold, dude. I'm not gonna go around and be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Jesus is real and that God's real. Just my opinion, though. Like, I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. Like, no, dude, that would show that, no, I'm not gonna do that, dude.
Okay, but, you still haven't demonstrated that the God or supernatural Jesus is real.
You had some people saying that, like, I'm not allowed to say that I used to be an atheist, because if I were a true atheist, then I'd still be an atheist.
But it sounds as though you think folks are only atheists because they were hurt by religion or they just wanted to sin. If you're like me, you're just not convinced of a God's existence. Jeez.
Which, dude, isn't that like the exact same argument but flipped around that atheists get mad at Christians for using? If someone used to be a Christian and they became atheists and they're like, oh, you must have not been a true Christian in the first place. Like, you guys are doing the exact same thing, just reversed. In conclusion, dude, I literally gained nothing by converting back to atheism, especially from these keyboard warriors. I literally gained nothing other than the ability to sleep around with as many women as I want, which I don't even want in the first place because I care more about genuine connection and love.
Hands up who thinks Peyton is now hoping that a good Christian woman sees this and says, oh, he's so sweet, I'll date him.
Dude, I don't care about smashing chicks, dude. I have better things to do with my time.
Like sit in a car and strawman atheists and give up corn.
Plus STDs. Like, why would I want to go sleeping around with a bunch of women when I can just focus on my purpose in life instead? Not to mention, objective morality goes flying out the window if you're an atheist. Because, dude, if all we are is just highly evolved monkeys, I would be doing myself a disservice, putting myself at a disadvantage by going against self-preservation, just by being nice to people. If it's every man for himself, if we're all just animals, dude, why should I be nice to anyone?
You what, mate? That makes zero sense. I can't be nice to people because it goes against self-preservation. Are you okay?
Yeah, in conclusion, if you believe we evolved from monkeys for long enough, start acting like a monkey. Alright, that's it.
Well, luckily, I don't think I evolved from a monkey, so good. What we had here is one person's whiny account of atheists not accepting personal experience or book words as evidence for the existence of a god, and I completely agree. That sounds ridiculous. But Peyton, offer some actual evidence and maybe we can have a chat. The whiny Cartheist look doesn't suit you. Or maybe you have a message for Peyton. Let me know in the section below. I'm going to skeptic this as yet another Cartheist wasting time and not demonstrating a god. A big thank you to this month's top level ticks on Patreon. George, Godless Granny, Addy Rockart, The Enixes, Jakari, Elizabeth, Whiskey Tech Fred, Rick and Travis, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.